Hi, everybody. Welcome to A Drink with Live, hosted by Catt Sadler. Tonight, I'm your host, Hillary Sawchuk, standing in for Catt. Dear Catt, our beloved host sends her love. She is sick and she isn't able to make it tonight. She wanted to be here. Head to our Instagram story, send her some love. We're wishing for a speedy recovery. We love you, Catt. We hope you're feeling better. And thanks for everyone for still coming out tonight. It's Thursday. It's A Drink with Live. Thank you to Think Protein Bars, our sponsor. We wouldn't be here without them. And I know Think their well wishes to kids as well. Tonight's going to be fun. I mean, every week is fun. We come here to connect, get inspired, laugh, make new friends, and I know Catt, myself, and everyone here just adores our guest tonight. She's an actor. She's the host of 2 podcasts. She has a lot going on. So please welcome Jamie-Lynn Sigler.
Hi.
Hi, Jamie. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We will toast to you. Thank you for coming on. I know you have a lot going on. Oh yes. What are you drinking?
I just feel like I shouldn't be showing you I shouldn't be showing you nutritional value. I should probably be showing the label, right? Not that this is a commercial by any means for Can, but that's what I'm drinking.
Nice. Okay, I know. You have. How's your day? You're going to the airport today. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, we are in our house here in Texas, in Austin, and we have been renovating for quite some time, and we are a month over. For anyone that's done a renovation, I guess that's like normal that you go over time, but a month is a long time for no kitchen with 2 small children. And I was supposed to start a movie this week, which also got pushed. So it's kind of like the theme of my life right now. So we're just going to fly to New York to be with my family, have a kitchen, not eat Chick-fil-A for many meals of the day, and, have a little vacation.
Well, thanks for squeezing a happy hour in with us. I love that you took a stand for your family, for yourself, and you recently moved from LA to Austin. Tell us about this big move. I mean, you were in LA for over a decade.
Yes, I was in LA for 12 years. And, I think like a lot of people in 2020, you kind of took this time to reevaluate life, like what makes you happy, what you really prioritize in life. And, during one of like the darker moments of quarantine, I think my husband and I got really into talking about this and, what would our most ideal situation be? And for me, I always thought about, getting to a certain level of my career where I didn't necessarily have to live in New York or LA. We can live somewhere different, kind of, not so much industry focused, or my industry focused rather. We can raise our kids with a different life, with space. And then it got to this point where I'm like, well, what am I waiting for? Whose permission? Who's going to say when that time in my career is? Who's going to give me that permission? Why not now? And then also during that time, my husband's company was kind of switching over to being more remote and realizing like not everybody had to be in LA to work at this company. He could still do what he traveled so much anyway. So we started like the Zillow thing, like everybody else, fantasizing. And then one of my very best friends, Odette Annabelle, and her husband, Dave, had already made the move down here in the spring. So that got us really thinking. So we came down here in October 2020, saw probably 20 houses, made an offer. They accepted our offer. And 30 minutes later, I booked a television show in Los Angeles. So like, that's exactly how life goes. I hadn't worked in LA in I don't know how many years. Every time I worked, it was either in Canada or Atlanta or New York. So, how it went. So we stayed there to shoot the pilot, and then we moved down here in March.
Wow. I love that you just like took action. Was there like much, like, did you have to do like, it sounds like it became very clear and you just jumped and did it.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of thought. Like we were really surprising ourselves with how we we didn't feel like we were being impulsive, but we were really following like a gut feeling and just going with it. We weren't second guessing what we were feeling at all. And, you know, because we moved here, we had best friends, and then two of our other best friends moved down here with us. We knew we were coming with some kind of community. Like if this was a terrible mistake, at least we all did it together. But it was just exciting, and it felt like it was a choice for our family. And also, to be quite honest, I think, you know, a lot of families felt this way in, you know, 2020. Like it was hard. Quarantine was hard. We had two little boys, you know, one in Zoom school, one toddler, my husband working a very demanding job from home. You know, it chipped away at us as a family. And, you know, the thought of kind of starting over, the life that we were able to afford and give ourselves here in Austin felt like not only a great adventure, but kind of the repair that we needed as a family. You know, going through something brand new altogether, you can't help but make you bond and feel, you know, united. And it really did that for us.
Oh, now it doesn't, when I think of the entertainment industry, I feel like there is this, not reputation, but this notion that you have to be in LA to be successful. Were there any fears? Or is that just where world is going? Is that just not a thing anymore?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like, you know, so they call it the self-tape world. So as opposed to what you would imagine audition where there's like 50 women waiting in a waiting room and you go in one at a time for your 10, 15-minute allotted time in front of a casting director, producers, whatever. That's normally what auditioning is like. But it started gearing more towards self-tape where you would at home put yourself on tape doing the audition and then send it to the casting director. And because of COVID, that started happening. Like this television pilot I booked all over Zoom. All my auditions were over Zoom. My screen test was over Zoom. So it felt like the business was shifting there prior to COVID, and then it really went that way. And then so when I talked to my representation about me moving, they were in full support, you know, because, you know, I was a New York actor for a long time, still auditioning for LA. So Austin, what's the difference?
I love that. I love that people can do what they love from wherever, you know, wherever they want to live and raise a family and where they find the most happiness. Another time, and what I love as I like kind of look at your career and life is that you really do stand up for yourself. And I want to say it was a couple of years ago, and you've spoken about this, where you took a break from acting, and you I don't know if you quit acting, but was that and now you're back and doing many projects. How, you know, was that easy for you? And then how did people react to you saying, listen, I need this moment for myself to see if I still love it, and I just need a minute? How did people react?
Well, you know, I think it wasn't easy by any means. I was struggling big time. I was struggling with a lot of different things. Being a young mother, living with multiple sclerosis and what that meant for me. And, you know, for 16 years, I had secret. So it was all about hiding it at work and covering it up. And then even when I first came out about it, while I was getting the support and help I needed and never like asked for before, I was still having to cover it up for all of my jobs. And so it was stressful and it was hard. And it just kind of became where work wasn't enjoyable for me anymore. And it was kind of getting muddied by all these things. So I just needed to take a step back. And I was very fortunate that I was in a position where I could do that. And I was at home with my kids, kind of really trying to figure out my life. And I had this moment, I remember sitting on the floor with both of them. And it's not like they were even fighting. Like it wasn't a bad mothering moment. Like everything was fine, but I almost felt like I couldn't breathe. And I realized there's more to me and I have to honor that. Like acting, I think it's acting, but there's something else that I need to be doing. So I called my best friend, that's a casting director, and I was like, what is a great acting teacher out there that you know about? She put me in touch with my acting teacher, Tom Draper, and I went to a class. Everyone's like 18 to 21 years old. I'm the old lady in the class. But every Tuesday night, I would be so excited. I couldn't wait to put up my scene. I couldn't wait to fail. I couldn't wait to like win. It was just made me fall in love with acting again and made me realize, oh, that's why I do this. Not all of the other stuff, because it can get confusing with all the other business stuff. And so then, I had called my reps who were like, when I told them I was quitting, they're like, yeah, okay. And I was like, okay, I'm ready. And I think that when I came back the last 2 years, I guess, or 2.5 years, I've all of a sudden been working consistently because I also feel like I've come to this place where I used to try and figure out how I was going to fit in to Hollywood because of living with MS. And now it's not about that. It's like how it's going to work for me. Because the truth is, I used to read a script and think how I could cover things up, but I can play any role while having MS. MS is not my whole life. I can play any role and not have to talk about it. I've fallen in love. I've had children. I live a very full life. And so I realized if I can fit into life, I can fit into this business. And I think coming with that energy and coming with that confidence made all the difference, to the point where then all of the roles that have been coming at me lately and all the projects, they just are willing to work it in, and it allows me to do my best work, because then I don't have to think about that as much. And so it's been, and I think it's also in general, I feel like there's just all this energy behind inclusivity and diversity in all ways, and I'm really appreciative of that. And, I've realized that I used to feel like too heavy of a responsibility for me to represent people with MS, but then I'm realizing I'm just all I have to worry about is representing myself in the most authentic way. And with that comes, representation for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. What was that time like when you decided to come forward and talk about it? Was there a tipping point where why were you ready a couple of years ago?
I think 16 years is a long time. So there's, it can weigh on you for a long time. And I think when you harbor a secret for that long, you can start to develop these feelings of like shame and guilt around it. And, I'm already dealing with, life with a unpredictable and degenerative disease. There's no reason why I should be putting these feelings of feeling guilty or shameful about it on top of it. And, this was during the time too, where I was kind of taking a break from everything. And my son also was getting to an age where, he was very aware of my limitations, but I was having to explain to him why I had these limitations. And I realized, I'm trying to raise him in a world and teach him that anything is possible, and what's different makes you special, and everybody deserves opportunity. And then I'm going to ask him to lie to people about, why I walk the way I do or why I can't run. Like that is not the example that I want to set for him at all. And it was also at a time where I was getting married. And it was such a celebratory time in my life, and I was proud of my life, and I was proud of where I was at, that I think I'd also gotten to a place of acceptance around the disease, because the secret necessarily wasn't always for everybody else in the world's judgment. It was also my own, because I was able to live in a small place of denial when people didn't know that I had it. And so I was at a place of really being ready to accept that this is something that I have, and this is something that I'm living with, but it doesn't define me. And so I think, a culmination of all of those things, like, just gave me the strength to, take the chance and do it. And I'm so glad that I did. And everyone around me was so relieved when I told them that I was ready to talk about it, because they just didn't want to see me suffer anymore. And it was sweet. I remember when my friend said to me, she's like, I'm so excited for you to see other people that don't even know you look at you the way we do, and for you to understand that it's not what we see at all when we look at you.
Well, thank you for your vulnerability and sharing your story, your strength and bravery, because it makes people not feel alone and gives people strength as well. On
Mm.
a good day, how does MS affect your day? And like, what does a good day look like? And what does a bad day look like?
Sure. Well, luckily for me, I have been stable for 8 years. So I know what my days look like. I don't have, like, it doesn't go away what I have, but it also doesn't surprise me and nothing happens. So I deal with weakness and spasticity. So what that means is when I go from one position to another, like sitting to standing, I'll get a little stiff, almost feels like an electric shock through your body. Kind of takes me a couple of seconds to loosen up my body. I can't run. I walk with a little bit of a limp. High heels are hard. Stairs can be, I'm slower up and down, but I can do them. That's really it. And those are things that affect me daily, in everything that I do, everywhere that I go. But with it all that said, I drive, I don't use a walking aid, I'm independent, I'm with my kids, I live my life. So, every once in a while, I'll have moments where, I'll get really frustrated, or I'll, be on a beach with my kids and be like, see a mom running with her kid and just wish that I could do that too. Um, but I go to bed every night feeling like I did everything that I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
It might not look or be exactly, perfect, but I still did it.
What would you say to someone who's maybe on the fence or just about ready to reveal something personal? And what advice do you have for someone who wants to come out about something that's really personal to them?
Oh, well, I mean, I would congratulate them. I mean, I think that it's no small feat. It's one of the hardest things to do is to be vulnerable, but it's also the most empowering thing to do is feel vulnerable. I think what living with MS has given me is the ability to connect with people on a much deeper level than I don't think I would have been able to without it. Because in my vulnerability and in my honesty, whether somebody has MS or whatever it is, I've found that a lot of people just find it easy to connect with me and be honest and real. And I think that I've never judged anyone, but especially because of what I live with, nobody knows what's going on with me, and I never know what's going on with anyone. So I always look at people in the way of, that quote that always goes around, like, you never know what somebody's, dealing with or what kind of day they're having. That's how I look at everybody all the time. And so I think that I come from this place of wanting to connect, and it's only enriched my work as an actress. So I think for somebody that's wanting to come out, I would say, congratulations and good for you. That's not easy, but I'm also excited for you and all that to come and all that you're going to find, that life will reflect back to you with just your own openness and honesty, because there's nothing to be ashamed of and there's nothing wrong with you. We all have something, and everyone can connect on that.
Mm. So before we'll do a couple more questions, and then we're going to open it up to our studio audience, who I see over there. So be sure to chat your questions. There's a chat box in Zoom, and then we'll bring you to the virtual stage to ask Jamie a question. So before we get to that, I recently heard, I was listening to a podcast you were a guest on. Is it true that you just started watching The Sopranos and started at season 1? And was this a pandemic binging session like the rest of
No, I
us?
started at the beginning of the pandemic, and I'm still not done, as embarrassed as I am, because then came like Tiger King and like Love is Blind and Bridgerton, and I had to take a break because I wanted to watch what everybody else is watching, because everybody's already watched Sopranos. So I'm in the middle of season 5, but now I took a break because I just finished Mare of Easttown, and now my husband really wants me to watch Succession before the new season comes out. So I'm still watching. I'm still supporting HBO, okay, but not Sopranos. I haven't finished it yet. I will finish it before I.
And you've never watched it all the way through?
No,
Oh,
it was too hard for me when I was younger. And it's because I don't really like watching myself work in general because I don't enjoy it. I'm judging myself or I'm thinking, oh, I could have done that better, or they should have used that other take. And then I come out of it. So there's Sopranos is the one thing there's been enough time that I now was able to go watch it and really feel like I get it. I get why everybody loves it so much. I felt like a real audience member, like just enjoying the show as opposed to watching myself and cringing.
And you were 16
Yeah.
so high school. I'm just picturing myself in high school, and if I was part of this epic, iconic television moment in time, how quickly did your life change?
Not as quick as you'd think. Life was different then. There wasn't the internet, like there wasn't social media. We're in New York. There wasn't paparazzi. I took the subway to work the first 3 seasons. Like it wasn't. It didn't change that much. Aside from us flying to Los Angeles to go to award shows, and that's when it would be like, we'd be walking through and Brad Pitt would like know who we were and be like, "I love you guys," where your mind is blown. But prior to that, I would say, the first few years, especially for me, I mean, being so young, I'm grateful that, until I was maybe 20, 21, then I started doing talk shows and stuff like that. And you get into the other side of the business. My life didn't change that much. And I'm so grateful for that. I mean, I still was going to my public high school, like I said, taking the subway to work. It wasn't that different. And I also attribute that to what the adults on the show and the people that I had to look up to, like Jim and Edie and Aida and Lorraine and Michael. I mean, these were New Yorkers, and this was their job. This was their job, and it was awesome, and we loved it, and we're artists, and it's creative, and it's cool. But when you were on that set and it was in between takes or setups, I would be hard pressed for you to figure out who was in the crew and who was an actor, because they were such respect and like camaraderie and friendship amongst all of us. We were all intermingling, and it was just that was my first experience on a set, and it was the greatest time in my life. And I will always aim for that level of community at work because it was the best.
Oh, so my last question before I'll stop hogging the stage here, I'll let everyone else ask questions. But what is something from your time during Sopranos that really shaped you, not just as an actor, but just shaped you as a person and you brought with you into your life? Is there any, I don't know, advice or just moments?
I have this moment. So it was in the middle of the second season. I had attempted to go to NYU while filming. I was a psychology major. I lived in the dorms. And, they couldn't work around my class schedule, and I wasn't in the acting program. So they were having a difficult time. I was missing classes. One professor was already going to fail me. And I remember I had to go to a photo shoot. I had to take a midterm early to get to a photo shoot to film later. And I overslept my alarm. Woke up, I was already late, hopping on the subway, getting to work. Anyway, long story short, I get to the photo shoot, the whole class is there. And I looked at Jim and he was like, "Are you okay?" And I just broke down. Like I had just been trying so hard for so many weeks to keep it together and make everything work. And I just couldn't. I remember everybody dropped everything and they all came around me, like picked me up, got me food. They were like, you have to understand, like you have a job, you have an important job now, you need to defer from school. Like everybody talked me through it. And it was a really beautiful and heartbreaking moment, but just this, they looked at me as like they're a little girl and they were going to help me. They weren't, like I wasn't holding things up. It was a human moment that everybody just dropped everything to help me. And I really appreciate it. And yeah, that's just one example I can give you of that.
Sure. Well, we're going to have Kathy come to the stage to ask her question. And
Okay.
just so everyone knows in the studio audience, you'll get a notification to unmute when you're called on, so look out for that. And while we get Kathy all situated, we do ask everyone is if you could have a drink with anyone in the world, who would it be?
You're asking me this right now?
Yeah, and you can think on it if you want, but just
I mean, is everybody's answer Oprah? Yeah.
mine is.
Oprah. She's talked to everybody else that I would want to talk to as well, so I can just ask her about everything.
Right? About every conversation. Uh-huh. Love that. Love that answer. All right, Kathy.
Hi, Jamie. I've really enjoyed listening to you. And I think you have such a great outlook on life. I love your work ethic. You take the subway. You don't seem to have a why me attitude about your MS. And I just wondered where that comes from. Is it from the way you were raised or something within yourself?
You know, I have to be honest. I do have those moments sometimes. You know, I'm human. I have my moments where it feels unfair, where it feels overwhelming, it feels too much. Not often, but I do. I don't want to lie to you and say that I'm, always have it together. But I think that with a lot of time, I've lived with this disease for 20 years. You come to this place of deep acceptance, and then you start to kind of shift from what it's taken away from me to what it's given me. And whether that's me just wanting to make something else of it or something that naturally happens, I do believe that without MS, I don't think I would have gone down kind of the path of spirituality and faith that I have. And I think that that has really been the foundation for me in keeping a positive outlook on life and living with it. Because I also feel like, what choice do I have? I mean, I have two choices. I can't make it go away, at least not right now. And so I could think this way or that way. Either way, my body's going to be the same. So I'd rather live with, a more positive outlook.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, Kathy. Great question. Next, we're going to go to Lauren. Lauren, look out for that unmute button. And I think we'll have time for a quickie after.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
So I'm bringing this back to The Sopranos because, like you, I also started watching it for the first time during quarantine, so I'm really loving it right now. I know that you also host the podcast Pajama Pants with Robert, who played your brother on the show. So I guess this is kind of a two-parter, and you can kind of answer whatever you feel. But do you have a favorite memory of being on set with him? Like, as kids, I feel like y'all maybe just kind of had great experiences together, like just as being kids on a set, or just in general working with him as a kid, and then now kind of working with him together on this podcast. How have y'all's relationship kind of evolved from working as children, now working together again as adults?
Yeah. We've always he's always been my best friend. No one can put me into a fit of giggles more than him. And that's been the major issue of us working together. Any scene we had together, I could not stop laughing. So those were my favorite memories of ever working with him. But yeah, he's my best friend. I've seen him really grow up. He is the most honest person I've ever known in my entire life. And that's been the one consistent trait he's had since he's 12 years old till he's 36 now. Robert's been through a lot. He is sober. He's been through a lot of life. But throughout all of it, he's always been, like I said, the most honest person. And I've always respected that and admired that about him. And yeah, he's somebody that's seen me through a lot of life, and we had a really unique experience together that no one else would really understand except the other person. So now getting to host Pajama Pants with him and do it every week is the best. I like smile. If you watch our YouTube, I'm literally smiling the whole time because he just makes me happy. He brings out a side of me that's really raw and real, and just he's disarming and he's amazing. And yeah, I really feel like he's found his kind of next calling. He's a really good host.
Thanks, Lauren. All right, Jamie, we're going to let you go because I know you have to get off to the airport and we went 5 minutes over. But thank you so much for being here. It was so fun. I know I could chit chat with you, honestly, for hours. Thank you to Think Protein Bars as our partner for bringing the show to life. And everyone who came out tonight, the show is going to be on adrinkwith.com next week. And stay in the loop on our Instagram page to see who's going to be here next week. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Sorry.